Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We went to movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained best pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the favorite bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge sent us podcast. Hey.
Guys, welcome to the Large Marge Sent Us podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about their favorite flicks from childhood. I'm Sweetie with a Y.
And I'm Sweetie with an IE.
And wow, what a magical day, you guys. I can't believe it. Okay, so here's the story. Sweetie and I have been talking about this Ewok movie for, it feels like centuries, but we've only been alive for a few decades, so that's not possible. But basically how it goes is we would always be like, what was that Ewok movie? And then we would like swap scenes that we remember and be like, yeah, with like the scary giant with like the long hair, and like I would always be like the spider things. And then we would, I guess, try to Google it or something. But I feel like the only thing that would ever come up was the other movie called The Battle of Endor. And we would look at like the pictures from there and be like, I don't think this is the movie. Like it's the same
Similar,
girl.
but different.
Yeah,
right?
but I
Similar.
don't remember this. So I don't know. For a while, I was like, did we like invent that movie? And then I was like, no, because it's really stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Like many scenes from this movie, I thought were from like Return of the Jedi. I watched them so frequently. I was like, oh, what about that scene? Oh, that's in the Ewok movie. So we had, let's see. Well, should we say what the movie is now? Yeah, I
sure.
guess. Okay. So one day, well, I'll keep going with the story because that kind of like leads into it. So one day I'm browsing on ye old Disney Plus and I see this like category that's like, it's Star Wars, but like different. Like it looked like fancy. And I was like, what is this? It was like different font. And so like I clicked into that category and there was all these like old, like the holiday special and like all these like old, like vintage Star Wars things.
I
And
think
like,
it was in the vintage category. Of the Star
Yes,
Wars,
exactly.
yeah.
So then I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I wonder if they have the Ewok movie. And then there's like a separate category for Ewok shit. And I click into that. And I'm like, oh, Battle of Endor. I know it's not this, but I watched the trailer anyways. And I was like, it's definitely not that movie. And then next to that movie is this other fucking movie called Caravan of Courage, ? There's not a question mark in the title, but in my head there was. And I was
Caravan
like,
of Courage?
what? And I look at the cover of that, and there's like this like ugly kid that I'm like, oh my God, that's that ugly kid. And then I watch the trailer and I freak out because I'm like, we found it. We did it. So it turns out the confusion lies in the fact that this movie, I guess, was titled a few different things when it was released as a TV movie. So officially the movie is Caravan of Courage.
Courage. Ewok Adventure.
Ewok Adventure.
Colon.
Caravan of Courage.
Yeah.
So this was one of the VHSs that was a pirated bootleg edition of the movie that our father recorded off of the TV. What he wrote, I believe, on that VHS was something like Ewok Village, which is what Sweetie and I believe this movie was called for all of our lives up until last week when I spotted this on Disney Plus. So, man, what a journey.
Yeah, what a journey.
And I think it's so funny that
Really
we
screw us up.
Yeah, it really did. But like also Caravan of Courage is like a stupid fucking name.
Yeah.
Especially during the 80s when caravans were like very popular. Why would they be like, yes, let's name our Star Wars movie this so people make fun of it.
I mean, I would have just entitled it Ewok Adventure, but I guess that they were giving that to like all the Ewok village, here we go again. Ewok movies.
Spin-offs, yeah.
Yeah, all the spin-offs of the Ewok stuff. So, yeah. So, Ewok Adventure, Caravan of Courage was from 1984. So, if you remember, Return of the Jedi was in 83, featuring, introduce the world to Ewoks. And then clearly, realize, the opportunity to really continue with the universe. This is pre-Mandalorian time. This is like all the little spin-offs they're doing now of all movies. Like, this is kind of them trying to build off into other like little worlds. And they started with the Ewoks, smartly so, because goldmine kids, right? And we've talked about for Return of the Jedi, we watched those movies when we were little. We can't be faulted for liking Return of the Jedi the best because it featured the Ewoks. Upon, further reflection and watching, it's not the best movie, we understand. But, we love those damn Ewoks. And then these movies as well. So I said, I think in my story today, we watched this movie way more than the original Star Wars.
Yeah.
First of all, because we had it. We owned it.
Yep.
We didn't own the original Star Wars till like much
later.
later. Yeah. So we would only like see them on TV. This was a made for TV movie, which made it real easy for Dad to record it. So there we have it. And completely targeted to kids. So when you watch this, like it's a little bit slow, but you could see why kids would be obsessed with this movie, because it's not like kids care that much about like plot or
acting
yeah. Or like the script, like we wanted to see those little teddy bears like play around and go on gliders and like do like fun shit, and that's what I was there for. So I fucking loved it. I feel like I would want to watch it all the time, though part of me is like, okay, there's some scary things in this movie.
Yeah, it's so scary.
Okay?
It's too scary.
And we've talked about how that dynamic of our 80s stuff was like way scary. Like something that was labeled like kids movie featured the most terrifying, nightmare-inducing creatures like that ever was. I mean, anything in Jim Henson. I know this isn't Jim Henson, but he probably worked with them. I mean,
yeah.
He
must have done some of the puppetry, not the spiders.
But
'cause those
George
look terrible,
Lucas, but like the dog thing that is like
my God,
the Gorax has looked kind of like the Grand High Witch when she like turns like into like the really
Long
scary thing
snout.
at the end. Yeah. So it's like all these things that they were like, yay, kids are gonna like love this, but also have to co-sleep for the next like 10 years.
Which was like true. I mean, because we did love this movie, but rewatching this, I was like, ooh, I think this movie is responsible for like legit some of the weird fears I have in my adult life.
Probably.
And that's too bad, but I don't regret it. Like I think I think that it made me
no regrets.
strong in who I am. But really, this was a trip to watch because so very similar to Pippi Longstocking, which, funnily enough, was also a TV movie. Which was that in '84? No, that must have been later.
Later.
But it reminded me a lot of that experience in that it just kind of like all came flooding back to my head as if I like had amnesia, and then like one look at this and I was like, oh yeah, and then this happens and this happens.
Yeah.
And I was just remembering like watching these scenes in a certain way that I felt when I was watching them back then when I was little. And it was such a strange feeling. But did you have the same?
I mean, I wrote down those nostalgic scenes. There were, for me, 5 of them.
There's just too many for me.
That,
I was like, it was getting
stuck out
ridiculous
in my brain, being like, oh man, like I just remember if I like thought back to this movie. I mean, I haven't seen this movie in 30 years.
I know.
Easy. I mean,
It's
I think
so
I stopped
wild.
watching it probably when I was like 8, 9, 10. And I just like some of the scenes just like took me back, and it's sweet. I mean, it's, don't come in here with your I'm a big Star Wars fan and this movie doesn't belong in the canon, blah, blah, blah. That's not what this is about. Okay. And I don't think they even really like think of it like that. Like I was reading the trivia and it's not canon. Because some of the stuff like doesn't really jive. Like what? Like, okay, this is supposed to take place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi in like the universe.
Allegedly.
But allegedly.
That's like
So
one guy said that like one time who like didn't know anything.
Well,
so we're just all basing it off of that.
I mean, George Lucas might have said it. I mean, he wrote
think
it.
he
So who knows? You don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know. That's the point I'm making.
So, so if it does take place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, so they've they haven't met Luke Skywalker or Princess Leia or any of that, but the girl teaches them like English, and they like presumably know it. So then that's what like doesn't make sense, because when they are on Endor, Return of the Jedi, obviously there's no like English being spoken. And it's also very interesting that like, okay, the Endor that you see in Return of the Jedi is just basically the forest. It's the forest mood of, you know, of Endor. That's like what it's called. But then you see a lot more of it. Like obviously there's this desert, almost like kind of canyon aspect to it that like you don't see. And it's, you know, it's supposed to be very lush in Return of the Jedi. So I thought that was kind of weird too.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's not considered canon by whoever, but they call it like part of the Legend series. I didn't even know what that means. I don't know if there's any others besides these two Ewok movies. I mean, when you go through that section of Disney Plus, there's an Ewok cartoon that I'm not familiar with. There was some other kind of vintagey cartoons looking kind of
the
stuff.
holiday special? The Christmas?
Holiday. Yeah. I don't know. That's like, I don't know if that was just like a fun thing, but anyways, loved it. I think it was hugely popular with kids, and I plan on showing my baby it.
Really? But it was so scary.
It was scary. Like, right. What age is appropriate to show this to children? I'm not sure now.
I'm not sure.
I just don't
I'm
know.
not sure.
Because you were like, we were just shown everything, and it was never a thought being like, oh, is this too scared for my 5-year-old? Now I feel like there's just like so much discussion. We don't really have that. So, yeah. With it being a TV movie, you know, not that many big names.
Except the
Right.
woman.
Yes. So that was interesting. So first off, you have the return of Wicket. So from Return of the Jedi. So he is, you know, he's a little kid Ewok. So he's not, you know, he's a big part of this, but he doesn't do like a ton of the like fighting and stuff. That goes to his brothers. I think it's brothers, right?
Yep.
And like his dad and stuff. But he's in it and his whole family. So it's like a continuation. So played by the one, the only Warwick Davis, who, you know, almost.
I'm old. Last time we like did the
Warwick.
CSI guy character,
Yeah, I
right?
almost did it again.
Warwick Brown.
I have notes here, so it's like Warwick Davis. You know, big, obviously in Willow, and then big character act. If they ever needed someone to play, you know, but most like fantasy characters in costume and stuff, Warwick Davis was your man, right? So he did like a lot of that stuff. Yep. And he's great, super sweet. The character of Mace is played by Eric Walker. Didn't really do much stuff, but I want to say he's the poor man's Luke Skywalker. I mean, that's what they were going for, right? I mean, younger, 20 times more annoying. Let's remember Luke Skywalker was annoying at first.
Yeah, but Luke Skywalker
anyways,
wasn't
but he had
an
an arc.
Yeah, but he wasn't a Nazi. And like what the fuck is this kid's problem? And like, where were they going on their way to like drop him off at like a youth reform camp or something? So
Military
weird.
school.
Military school. God.
Yeah, so he's the worst, and he's also a terrible actor, which doesn't help the already sort of struggling made-for-TV movie script. God bless, you know, George Lucas, but never been his strength. So yeah, ouch. Not pleasant, really annoying. Jimmy was like, oh, I hate that guy. Like, I have a headache, but I think I just hate him anyway. And I'm like, it's okay. You could hate him.
He sucks. I
Really
hate him more
terrible.
than anything I've ever hated in my life. Maybe.
And then you have the parents, who I wasn't familiar with the guy, but I think you were just going to bring up, is the mom is like a pretty famous Irish actress, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's been in a bunch of stuff.
Fionnuala Flanagan is her name.
Very Irish.
Yeah.
She's in Waking Ned Divine, The Others. She was like the maid lady or the housekeeper in that. And then the Yaya Sisterhood. And then she was in a big thing in something else too, but I can't. Oh, she was in Lost for like a couple episodes. It's like a really important part. So yeah, she's somebody. So I was surprised to find her here.
Yeah. What really brought me back when I was watching this was the narrator of this.
Oh my god. Yeah. Who is that?
So it's very like, if you've ever watched any Ken Burns documentaries, this guy named Peter Coyote narrates them all. And that, like, you hear that guy, like,
Wait, isn't he the bad guy from E.T.?
yes. So he's an actor, but he does mostly like voiceover and does literally every Ken Burns documentary. So he's just like, you hear that voice, you just think, oh my god, Ken Burns doc. And they kind of went with that sort of angle. Like, they wanted like a feeling of someone narrating like a wildlife, PBS special. So it's Burl Ives, who's like famous Christmas song.
Yeah.
And
wait, what song?
and the Frosty the Snowman stuff. Burl Ives did. Which one did he do? Hold on.
It
What's a great name?
ring a bell.
Burl Ives, Holly Jolly Christmas.
Have a holly jolly Christmas. Yep. Good one.
Yeah, so he did that, and I think he is in like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Like, he does the like stuff for that. Yeah. So that was really cool, and again, like, really brought me back. I was like, oh shit, this nerd, because I think they do a good job of using that, because with the Ewoks who don't speak English, like, you kind of have to know what's going on, and he just kind of jumps in and sort of gives like a 1 or 2 sentence, like, okay, here's what's going on, which was really helpful. Yeah.
Narrator.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's it. That's kind of the biggies in this one. Again, like, no one super famous TV movie wise. I think you hope to get a TV movie and then make it big. And then the little girl, like, super sweet. It was her first movie. She didn't really have any credits after this, but
Except for Battle of Endor.
Right, Battle of Endor. But she's just a sweet little cherub in an 80s headband.
She looks
I
like
loved her headband.
I loved her headband. She looks like my 80s, my Baby Alive doll. Like, what? It's creepy.
Like,
I'm like,
exactly.
whoa.
Maybe her face was used as a model.
Wow. She'd be a great character to dress up as in a Star Wars convention, to see if anyone like knows who you are. And then, like, those are the real people you want to be friends with. Those are the real fans.
Well, they'd probably spit at you because it's not canon.
Oh, please. It's still like a reference that they should know about. Anyways, okay. All right, so let us get into it.
Okay. It's time for the sweetie synopsis. Yeah, sweeties. Lurdo.
You call me a loser?
Okay, did you see the...
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go over this later. So, in the trivia, there's supposedly, like, Ewok, translation of the main Ewok words, because they kind of say the same stuff all the time. But Lurdo, I always thought he was saying Lardo. This is Wicket, by the way. He says Lurdo a lot, and that means loser. Yeah. Wow.
I think it's just like an insult.
General insult. Like he
I
kicks the spider and he's like,
more
Lurdo.
like dummy, asshole. Maybe asshole. I think assholes probably means more what they meant. But all right, wait, what's the family's last name? Torvon.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's in the trivia, but yeah, I don't.
The family in this movie. So we begin on their crashed starship in the forest
Star
moon.
Cruiser
in the forest moon of Endor. So like I missed the like beginning explanation because I was like trying to teach Sweetie how to watch the thing. Okay, they don't.
Yeah.
So like, where are they going? What happened?
Why weren't the kids on the ship?
So the parents? This movie starts and the parents are like, Mace, Cindel, where are you? Like, where could they fucking be? They're right next to the ship, right? The parents?
Okay, so I don't know
Or maybe
if what
not.
happened
maybe
is...
maybe they flew out and then they were like trying to find the ship.
Right. So either like they got ejected from the ship crashed with the kids in it, the kids got out, and then they found the ship and then the kids weren't there. Or did the ship crash, the parents were like, we'll be right back, and instead of staying in the ship, the kids went to go look for them. So then by the time the parents came back, they weren't there. Like, I don't know why they don't explain it. It's very strange, but the parents can't find the kids.
Can't find the kids is the gist. So then we hear like this horrible clomping, and it's this giant name. We don't find out until later, but he's the Gorax, and he has like this horrifying long black hair, and
He looks like a pirate.
he does. Yeah, he looks like a rock musician or like an 80s hair band musician, and he has like a tiny mouth. But it's still like a snout, and then these like weird eyes that are like human.
Very human
And
eyes. I want to say I appreciate his effort to accessorize
Oh my
because
God,
I don't know if you noticed he had
bead,
one
of
ponytail
course.
holder. He had one ponytail holder like holding nothing back. Like it wasn't useful at all. And then he has earrings, I think, right? Like some sort of
I know, he
earring
has, like,
situation.
a bead in his hair, like a white bead, like a tribal bead.
It just he doesn't strike me as someone who would need those things. But hey,
I don't
good
even
for
know
him.
what his deal is. He just like stomped, but he's so big. Like when I say giant, like I mean giant. And when I say fears that I got as I realized looking back as an adult, I think one of them is my weird fear. You know this one that I talk about sometimes where I'm like afraid of things that are like unusually large and they're like, and it's like out of place. So like in this, he's so tall that he's like half of the size of these like giant trees, which are those like giant sequoia trees or whatever. And it doesn't make sense in my head. I'm like, nothing can be that big when you're that small. Like that doesn't make sense.
Right.
So it freaks me out. And so, wow, it was scary. So then it
was
kind of
really
like cuts on that. And then we meet the Ewoks. So we have Deej, who is the father.
From Full House.
I know. He's the father. He's off in search of his two like troublemaker rascal sons like Ouija and Jizzle. And he's off to go find them. And so Wicket, we all know Wicket and love him. He wants to stay. He wants to go with him, but his dad's like, no, you stay with your mom and your little baby sister. Take care of the family.
Your Benjamin Button baby. I always thought that baby was so old.
Oh my God.
looking.
Well, it was much cuter in Return of the Jedi, and now
It
it's
is.
like I don't know if it's not the same baby, obviously, because it can't be that.
It
it'd
looks
be way
very
bigger.
old. It looks like an old teddy bear.
So maybe that's what it
Baby.
is. She's probably has a disease. God, leave her alone. Anyways, so off goes Deej in his skin glider, which I think is like a really unfortunate name because. Just like,
How do you know it's named that?
that's what the narrator said. Deej is going off in his skin glider to search for Weasel and Diesel.
Just call it a glider. Come on.
I know.
We get it.
Skin glider. Gross. Like a giant penis. Like what? That's what I was envisioning. Anyway, so he's off in his little like paraglider and he's like going over. He sees like a shiny thing reflecting, which is actually the Star Cruiser. But he finds his stupid ass kids like stuck on a cliff and he throws down a rope and saves them. But due to the curious nature of Ewoks, they go off in search of the mysterious object. So, as I said, the mysterious object is the Star Cruiser. It's a ship, so it's like kind of all like tousled about and like it's kind of busted up. They go inside of it and then they hear like a child coughing. And they go over to this like thing, which in my mind as a kid, I was always like, she's in the like dishwasher or so. Like she'd always seem to
Or
be like in a
fridge. I think it was
weird
a fridge.
a freezer.
Maybe that's why
Yeah.
she got sick. Maybe
She
that's
looked
why
like
she got sick.
she was stuck in an ice cream freezer and they like opened it and we're like, oh, there's a kid in here.
Right.
So the Ewok is very kind. Deej is very kind and recognizes that this is like a small child being and that he should protect it. So he goes to like comfort her. And who should come into the fray but fucking Mace, whatever, asshole of the century with like a gun. And he's like, what the fuck are you animals doing? And it's like, okay, these are cute. What?
Teddy bears.
Cute teddy bear things. Why are you being so
Like
rude?
wooden weapons. I know. Yeah, he's just all
So
I don't
bad.
even know. He's
It's
just a loser.
Like fucking human beings.
off her.
Oh my God, please. Yeah, they're really gonna hurt her like these sweet teddy bears. Calm down, Mace with a C, Mace. So after some like confrontations and like a gun goes off and like blah blah blah, finally the little girl whose name is Cindel is like, Mace, knock it off. Like, they're not gonna hurt me. They're cute. God, like, dummy. And so that finally makes him stop. So they go back to the Ewok village, which is, as we know, their fun little like treehouse in the trees.
Well, they do like tie him up though, and like that's how they bring him to the village. Remember, they like pig pile him. Yeah. And then they bring him up, kind of like how when they find Luke Skywalker and Han, they like kind of tie him up, and he's on like a stretcher thing. And they took away his gun, so like they know what's up.
Yeah, but poor Cindel is she's real sick. Yeah, she got a bug. She got something.
I love that she's like
freezer.
She's around the table and she's like all this mucus and like clearly it's not doing well. And Mace is like, you're probably just hungry. Can we get her some food over here? I'm like, are you a dummy?
Meanwhile, the Ewoks like don't speak English, so he's just like barking things at them. And
I know.
It's just,
He's
like,
the worst.
awful.
Like he's the worst mimer too. Like he just doesn't. He's like food. Like he doesn't do like eating things. He's like I don't know. The way he mimes was just so awful.
Terrible racist American is what he reminded me of, and I hated him. Meanwhile, poor Cindel is like passed out at the table. She's like dying, and I'm over here like, girl, I got an idea for you. Take off your headband. I bet you'll feel way better. And then she was like, I'm hot. And I'm like, take off your sweatsuit then. I don't know what to tell you. She's like in a full
take off that polyester sweatsuit
and a headband. Like maybe, I don't know, just maybe take off a couple layers. That's all I'm saying. So luckily the Ewoks have this like magical medicine that's in a little like pea pod shooter thing. Looks like a pea pod. Sweetie confusion. Sweetie thought it was peas.
I thought that their medicine was, they literally use pea medicine. I'm like, that's cool.
So mad. If I lived in a place where the medicine was pea medicine, I would be so mad. Sons of a bitch, get me to eat peas. I hate peas. They're so dirty. They just taste like dirt.
I don't know why I like them. They totally taste like feet, but like I love peas.
I hate them.
They taste like dirty feet. It's weird.
Ugh. Anyways, so they give her this medicine and makes her feel a little bit better. And then he's like, we need more medicine. And they're fucking, guys, they're out of medicine. They're out of medicine at the Ewok village. So what are they going to do? They need to go in search of more. So there's like this special tree that does it or whatever. Right? It's the tree that has the medicine, not the like weird critter. So fucking Mace like sticks his hand in a like creature, and then it turns out to be this like giant snake creature thing in this tree. It was kind of scary. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah. I remembered like the little critter, but I don't remember it turning into that big thing.
Yeah, it's like giant snake head.
Yeah. But they get what they need. They make the medicine. They give it to Cindel, and she's like miraculously better. Yeah. So now
one step, she's like, I'm feeling good.
Yeah, she's like totally fine. The snot's out of her face. Like she's good. She's good. She got a glow. So now the objective is like we have to find our parents. So Mace believes they're still alive. Cindel's like, I'm not so sure. Meanwhile, Mace has got in his head like we have to ditch these dumb animals and get the fuck out of here. And Cindel's like, why? Like it's safe and like nice here. And she has a point. Like I think Cindel could have stayed. Mace, you go find the parents. You're you do it. You're the older sibling. Take care of that. Right. But no, he drags poor Cindel away in the middle of the night, and they run off into the woods to like go back to the Star Cruiser. They get
with
lost.
No water, no food. They
with nothing.
Literally have nothing.
So
half-ass blaster.
He makes a fire, and then they hear a noise in the woods. And at first you're like, oh no, it's that scary giant with the long hair again. And then it's not. It's like this weird like wolf beast creature rat. And it's huge again, and like too huge again. Like it's not natural. It's not natural for something to be like that size. And it's scary. And they hide in a tree, and then they like fall asleep. And then the Ewoks are fighting it the next morning. The Ewoks end up killing it, and then I guess they join forces at that point.
They find what do they find on the creature?
Oh, right. On the creature is the father's like life bracelet, which they're all wearing these like beeping like collar things. I guess you could compare them to Fitbits nowadays. But I guess it shows like your vital signs. And so the dad's one is like on this creature, still blinking. So they know he's alive. But the question is, why does this creature have it on his collar as if somebody put it there? Like, and why would someone put someone else's, like, you know what I mean? Like, why? Yeah. What was the benefit of that? Because it's tied to the father's vital sign. So it's like, I don't know. It didn't really make sense to me. Yeah. But anyway, so the Ewoks are like, let's go to this magic, like, shaman Ewok. He can, like, see things. He'll know what's up. Yeah. So
I always thought that was I called him the president of the Ewoks.
I was like, why does she think he's the president?
In Return of the Jedi, he's like the leader, but he really he's like the shaman.
Yeah, but even if he was the leader, you wouldn't call him the president of like a weird.
No, I'm
like,
just saying like that's like our word for like leader.
The leader.
I don't know.
President.
The democratically elected president of the Ewoks. I mean, that's what I thought.
No, yeah, he's like magic. He's a wizard, and he like has this thing, and he can look into it or whatever. And he sees the Gorax, and the two parents are in this like bone cage, just kind of hanging out. And so they know they're alive, and then the Ewoks are like, "Oh fuck, dude, that's the Gorax. Like that's bad news. Like
we don't go there.
Yeah, we're not dealing with that." So then I guess they change their mind and decide they will help them after all. But the shaman's like, "Listen, I'm going to give you some totems, which are like representative of these old Ewok heroes." And so like here they are, and so I remember this part so well, and I remember being like so so excited about these little like trinkets.
Oh my god!
So okay, so they first
I couldn't remember the trinkets when we were watching it, but like I remember being so excited as well. I was like, oh
as
my
soon
god.
as it started happening, I was like, oh my god,
with like the circle, and they are each are standing at a line of this circle, and whatever like line that you're at, like you get the little totem like that's at the end of that line, right?
Oh, I thought he just decided who got what.
Oh, I thought it was where they were standing in the circle.
I'm sure it was, but yeah. So we have like the Deej and his two stupid sons all get these like feather headdresses, which as far as I can tell don't do anything magical in the way that the other ones do.
Right.
I didn't spot anything. And then Wicket gets a magic stick. Cindel gets this like ever burning candle.
Which, does he have that walking stick in Return of the Jedi?
That's what I was trying to
use a
think.
walking stick? I feel like there's like
maybe
he like uses it.
We'll have to go back. And see. And then Mace is like, "Oh, I'll get this awesome like crystal," and the Ewok's like, "Nope, like you get this rock," and it's like literally just a rock, and Mace is like, "What rock?" Like you're like, ah. It was pretty great. I laughed.
And Cindel got a candle.
And I already said that. So then there's two extra things that no one has, and the guy's like, "You have to find 2 more Ewoks." Like who? What? What? We just find like these random Ewoks, and then those will be like their trinkets. So off they go on their caravan, which Cindel and Wicket get to like ride in this actual caravan kind of like thing on the horse, and it seems very cozy in there. It reminded me of like Pooh Corner in our elementary school, which was like a place you got to go.
Seems seriously unstable. I don't know if you saw like some of the scenes where the horse was like trying to walk with it, and it's like kind of stumbling.
Well, yeah, it was like a giant bag. It was weird.
It's like an igloo on a horse, or like a teepee on a horse. Yeah.
I hope no horses were hurt in the filming of this. But so off they go. They meet one Ewok who's like chopping down trees haphazardly in the woods. I forget what his name is, but he's like kind of the like rugged outdoors Ewok. I mean, they're all outdoor Ewoks, but like he's like, "Oh, I'll cut down some trees." Like he's that kind of Ewok. So they get him, and his trinket is, what's his? The axe?
What was his?
I don't remember.
The arrowhead? Oh no, it was the tooth or something.
The tooth?
Yeah.
For what?
I don't know what he used it for. But
No, the arrowhead was inside the rock.
Okay, so that was Mace's. But then, no, it was like some kind of tooth or something like that. That he that fit into his, what he was already wearing. He was wearing something with like teeth on it. And then it like matched what he was wearing.
It's kind of dumb. So that's him. And then the second Ewok they find is this like other wizard Ewok lady.
But a woman.
It's a woman. And she gets the cool crystal thing or whatever. And she can do like magic. And so you're like, cool, helpful, useful. So now they have a complete group so they can go to the Gorax. So it's like far away and they're like, you know, all these obstacles. Mace falls in this like weird enchanted water and like can't get out. And Wicket saves him with the magic stick. After they try like 20 other things, I'm like, you guys, it's not going to work. Stop sticking stuff in there. You're wasting time.
That's so sad. But I was like, what could it be? I kept thinking like, because I didn't remember it was Wicket's stick.
Yeah, me neither.
But I was thinking, oh, like what other of their things do they have? And like what happened with that water? Like who magically possessed that? They don't like explain so much stuff in this. Maybe that's again because it's like, well, it's for kids, like too complicated. We can't like explain anything. But it was just missing a lot of things. Like who like enchanted that water and why? Like maybe it was like all part of the Gorax like had sort of enchanted all this stuff leading up to his place so no one would go.
Is he magical? He can do magic?
I think it didn't seem like it.
Magical giant? It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? So anyway, so finally now they're like at the base of the Gorax's home. So they're like, how do we get in? Now is time for Mace to shine. And they're like, Mace, where's your rock? And he's like, oh, the rock. Yeah, I threw that away.
This whole thing.
You're like, you fucking... I was so mad at him. I was like, you had one job to take that trinket with you. But luckily, old reliable Wicket had picked it up and brought it. So thank you, Wicket. So turns out there's something in the rock. And it's an arrowhead. And they like put it on the sand. And then it like rotates and points its way to like the thing. So there's like this boulder, and they're like, we can't lift that, it's too heavy. But luckily, Mace has his blaster. So he blasts it away, and they can get inside. So at this point, after they've made this whole journey, they decide, oh, wait, we have children with us. You guys should stay behind. Why did they have to come on the caravan?
I have no idea.
It doesn't make any sense.
It seemed like an adult trip.
Yeah, so Wicket, Cindel, and then like the third brother, who I thought was the same age as the other brother, turns out not. Right. And so they all stay behind, and the adults go on into the cave. So a couple fearsome obstacles. Number one, they have to get across this like rope bridge, but it's really just like a giant spider web. And then these like nasty spider puppets come down from the ceiling and like try to eat everyone, and it's pretty scary. I mean, these puppets look so stupid.
Oh, they're the worst. I'm like, did you make that in paper mache class in third grade? They're terrible.
They were like the spiders you buy in like the party store, like the Halloween store, but with these like giant alien heads that were like really like pointy. And then I remember though the close up of the fangs so well with like the venom like dripping off. And you know, it's just like that scene in Gremlins 2, where the spider's like over the woman, and then it shows the little thingies on the bottom of the body that are like nee, 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 nee. And then they stab it from under, just like always how you kill a spider, you guys. Just like remember that. Get underneath it, stab the shit out of it.
Remember that when you come across a giant
it happens every
spider.
time. Lord of the Rings, this movie, Gremlins 2, probably. Any other spider movie, and that's it. So Harry Potter, forgot that one. So they make it through that, and then some spiders come to try to get like Cindel and Wicket. They take care of it. Wicket, oh brave one. And then they reach the Gorax's lair, and he's got the parents up in this cage. It's really unclear what he's doing there.
Okay, thank you. one of my
Like-
notes. Why did he kidnap the parents?
What is he
do you
doing
wanna
all
eat 'em?
day? What is he doing all day? First of all, he seems to just like sit at this table and like play with his bones, and then he's like, "Oh, I'll get up and go look at those humans," and then he like gets up and like snarls at the humans. I'm not convinced he was gonna hurt them. I think he was
Right.
just maybe a scientist or like something that we don't understand.
Maybe they were like birds in a cage to him. I mean, he
Yeah.
wasn't like feeding them or anything. I don't think. But
Maybe he was okay. I don't know.
yeah, because the bones he was eating were like huge bones.
Yeah,
So it's
looks
not
like
like
animal
what would
bones.
they be to him? Like they were like not even a snack. Like
Why wouldn't he eat them? Was he full? Like, is he sick? Is he fasting? Like, what is this? It's so strange. But anyway, so they come up with this plan to like do some kind of like seesaw catapult thing, and then Mace rescues his parents, and they all escape, and then the brave Ewok tries to go back and like kill the big giant, the Gorax thing. Ends up not making it. I've seen a few Ewoks die in my life, and I was sad to realize there was another one in this movie.
I know,
And I
knew they were going to do
remembered,
that.
like,
And I
as
knew it was that
soon
guy.
as he went back, I was like, oh no, I
Me too.
remember this part. So he dies. It's very sad. And then everybody else escapes. And then
then you're made to believe that him and Mace have this like big bond and stuff because Mace is like really upset. He's like, "No, man, don't die. Like you can't die. Oh,
He's
you're giving
just
me
a-
your axe? Okay."
He's just a loser. Loser. The worst. I was laughing at that part. Like, I was supposed to be sad, but Mace was just ruining it.
I know. I was sad.
But so then there's, the Gorax again tries to like come for Cindel, and then the mom, badass, just like shoots the fucking Gorax with the blaster, and he falls down the crevice. Or he comes back again, and then someone stabs him, and then he falls down the crevice. There's like two things where you're like, you think he's dead, and then he comes back. So
Yeah. Here's my other question with that. So, 2 times, so the tough like lumberjack guy uses his axe to like kind of cut his toenails, and then they throw the axe, and then that's how the Gorax finally falls into the big like canyon thing. They're so tiny. Wouldn't that be like a paperclip like attacking him?
Exactly.
I'm like so confused.
It doesn't make sense.
Anything they did to him, like the little Ewok who was kind of the diversion one, the brother wearing the red feathers, was throwing rocks at him, and the Gorax was like, oh, like they were like big rocks. I mean, maybe it was like a grain of sand in your eye, but it was literally like one rock. I mean, like I don't know why he was being so affected. I mean, they looked like so tiny.
they made him
compared to
too big. They made him too proportional, and this is just back to my fear. It's just not right. Like there's something off about it. I was like, he's too big.
Yeah, it's too big.
Just way too big. But finally, he falls down. He's dead. The family's reunited. They like go back to celebrate with the Ewoks. Yay! It's kind of,
Ewoks
like, very
know how to
heartwarming.
party.
They do.
That's the second time, man. That
They always
was like
have a festival.
They always have a festival. They have good tunes. Someone's already dancing on the tables. I mean, it's Ewoks know how to party. I want to
they
be
were
part of
dancing
that.
on the tables. Woo! Yeah, crazy. But yeah, that's a flick. Hour and 36 minutes. But like I said, remembered like everything except maybe for the fairy part, which like in
same.
theory I remember. Like if you were to say to me like, remember the part where the fairies come, I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember that. But what I do not remember is the like way that you can see the fairy, and it's like a weird like I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a girl in the back of Spencer's Gifts like dancing.
Wow, that was like so specific. I love it. Yeah, and the facial features are just these like drawn on, like almost like with a Sharpie, like
she's-
big black.
Yeah.
Like,
She's
things
doing like
for
weird
that eyes
like,
and mouth.
sort of sexy dance moves
Yeah.
if you look closely, and then like other things, and it's just a weird scene. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't remember that. And then they all like disappear. And are
In
they
the
supposed to
candle.
be good or bad?
I don't know.
I wasn't really sure.
So like
or just like
Cindel's
annoying.
thing was just to like suck the fairies in and kill them.
They suck the fairies in, but then there's this one left, and then Mace like names it, and it's this like little
Obsessed
pet.
with it. He is like a sexual fantasy with this weird fairy. It's like a Tinkerbell syndrome.
Kind of Tinkerbell thing, yeah. And then she does come to the rescue to like irritate the Gorax at one point, so it kind of saves the day. But yeah, I didn't remember that part at all. The big scenes that I remembered were the pea pod medicine, already talked about.
Yep.
The thing in the tree. Yes, very scary. I remember being so scared about that. The Gorax dog thing attacking them in the tree. That was always really scary to me. There's something about like when they do any kind of action where like someone is in a tree or like in a space and it's just like a claw of something is like coming in and like trying to get you.
You have trauma that followed you into adulthood also.
I know. Terrifying. And I love when it's all over and Mace is like, Cindel's like, oh, is he gone? And Mace is like, yeah, I think so, but maybe we should just sleep here tonight. And then there's like, boom, like that's, they're just like stuck in the tree all day.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, time to go to bed. Night. Like in this cramped tree trunk. I'm like, okay, cool. Mace underwater. I remember that part. Kind of remind me a little like Watcher of the Wood style. Very scary. And also around this time. And then the spiderweb cargo net thing.
What?
Very, very scary.
How
and
did
also,
I watch that?
I don't know. But you know, it's a bummer because they cut it and then you're immediately like, oh, well, how are they going to get, you know, they have to come back this way to like get out. Didn't think of that, did you, Ewok?
Wait, how did they get back?
Happy little axe. There was a rope. Oh. They must have had I don't know if they had a rope and they swung across like jungle style. So I don't know where that rope was to begin with.
I guess.
Good old
he hung
Deej.
it. Yeah. He's always prepared. But yeah, that spider scene was, I know, like I obviously was petrified of spiders when I was little. And so I remember thinking this scene was a lot scarier than it actually is, I will say. Like, I remember being scared of the spiders.
I thought there were more spiders.
Yeah,
they
I thought they were more
spidery.
But this, wow, it was like so embarrassing. You could see all the strings, like every string on the puppet. Usually I'm lucky if I spot like one string. This was just a puppet. Like, you could see all the strings. But it was scary that the first time a spider came down and it was like, and it was like, I probably would have screamed if I was, I'm sure I did scream when I was little. I must have left the room at this part or something. I don't know. It seemed very traumatic. But yeah, I remember that too, obviously. A lot.
And there's a lot of creatures in this, you know, more so I think than in the other Star Wars movies, which, you know, again, like for kids and stuff, but it's nice to see. And not only, I mean, they have like horses and chickens and kind of regular ones, but then you have all these kind of fantasy sort of ones and really heavy on the puppetry, which I think in general was pretty good. The spiders, like we said, could have used some work, but the rest of the puppets, like very good. And I just like love that, you know, this was a time really before computer animation. If they were using, you know, computers in small ways, but you know, mostly with models and you know, like the way they did all the spaceships and stuff. You know, if you ever watched like Making a Star Wars, but I just love that, you know, CGI didn't exist, so they really had to rely on all this puppetry and all this kind of thing, which still feels very effective to me. I don't know. I mean, it's still very like scary stuff and looks real, and it didn't seem like anything like too, you know, the effects were good.
Yeah. And I think it's like the human character, like whenever you have a guy in a suit, is just seems to be most effective. Like reminds me of like Harry and the Hendersons or like something like that. But that giant thing was just like seeing him come through the foggy woods, like with the trees, just really brought me back.
And then, like you said, like he has human eyes, and when they do the thing where he's looking into the cage at the parents, and you can really see that it was like a person's eyes. I don't know why that like freaked me out so bad. I was like, wah! But with his like weird pig snout and like the long like Johnny Depp hair. I don't know.
There's like at one point I swear his mouth was like getting smaller by this like minute. Like I was like, wait, is his mouth shrinking? It just like it kept looking so weird. Like the old baby thing was just like, is this real? But yeah, any the paragliding scene, or the hand gliding scene, I really remembered a lot with Deej flying over on his skin glider. Yeah. I remember that whole scene of like Wicket being like, "I want to go with you," and then the dad be like, I remember watching that, and like the fucking goat chewing the rope, and they're like, "Oh no," you know. There's always like some crisis with like Wicket's not paying attention.
They have a lot of weak ropes in this. I feel like there's a lot of rope accidents. A rope would snap.
Yeah,
the goat would chew on one.
Bulk up on those ropes.
They need some better ropes in this village.
thicker.
Okay, so I don't have much for trivia. I did see that Ewoks loosely based off of the Tibetan language. Ooh. And we can go over what some of the words means because it is kind of neat.
Sure.
Okay. So the language is called Ewokese. Okay, makes sense. Okay, so this is what they have. If are these correct? Who knows? Again, take IMDb stuff trivia as you will. Okay, Yeha means goodbye. Cool. Yub nub, hooray!
Right, yeah, that one. I love that one.
Acha, all right. Acha, yeah. Gunda,
Wicked says that a lot.
good,
Gunda,
yummy.
Gunda. Yep.
Gunda, good, yummy. Feech, dang.
That seemed like I was laughing so hard because first it seemed like they were saying fuck or something and like feech, but then I kept being like, oh my god, it's like fetch, like in Mean Girls, but like with a funny accent. So I kept being like feech. It was pretty funny.
My all-time favorite, Lurdo. Loser.
Lurdo.
Tiety, come. Kush, heard that a lot. Who, what. Rhoda means to eat. Shock means yes. Jeeks, that. And den, no.
Okay.
So, all right. So you could get by with just those couple phrases.
Yeah. And like maybe those were yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of the Ewoks speaking English part. So there's like I guess they teach them like some words, but they're mostly just like parroting.
They're parroting.
The
But at the
words.
end, the dad does say some like actual phrase. And I forget what it is. He was like, "We will help you," or something like that. I don't know. It was like, I was just like, "Whoa,"
which is like true. Yeah, I guess that's. But I just again like I don't think it needs to actually have taken place in this time period. Like,
yeah.
I'm believing it was like after Return of the Jedi, because that's what I believe.
Well, let's like think why. Okay, why were they on that Star Cruiser? Where were they going? Like, what is the deal with that
I
family?
don't know. They won't tell us. No
Yeah.
news.
I mean, they're part of the rebellion, probably, right? I mean, was the dad doing a job? Like, maybe the dad was doing like some kind of scouting mission, like for the rebellion.
Mace was dressed in like orange, like fighter clothes, but the dad wasn't. Right? They were just wearing like regular, like
right,
human clothes. And so that didn't make sense. So that's why I was like, are they sending him to a military academy, like Starfleet, like training? But I don't think we'll ever know. I don't think we'll know.
I know. I kind of wish they'd like fill in the blanks there.
It's too bad.
But yeah, really sweet. I think kids would still love it today. It's kind of cool. Like I said, they're doing this now. Currently with the Mandalorian, but I know they have plans for other bits to do these sort of side stories of other characters within the universe, right? Like, what's the next one? Is the woman in the Mandalorian, or the Jedi in the Mandalorian, the one with the snake head?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, Ewoks was like a whole species, though, which maybe is like, they kind of like built off that. But I did feel like watching this, like I recognized traits of like the Mandalorian, which is good because it just made me realize that like Star Wars has just such a distinctive feel to it. And like when somebody does it right, like this is what you think of, like instances like this, where just like that weird, like futuristic, but also somewhat old fashioned because it was made
and like dirty or something. Yeah, someone made a point of that in the trivia, I think, saying that like the prequels like sort of lost that. Like it didn't like totally have that feel of the original ones.
Right.
And I think Mandalorian has done a good job of it. The newer ones, like I don't know how
they did
a decent job. Yeah.
Sure.
And like how important that is, especially when you're doing creating this universe, but also over decades and decades and decades. So it's like, how do you make sure? I mean, a big reason of why it felt like that, right? Because of the time period that Star Wars was made as well, and kind of like what their concept of like the future was, I guess, in a lot of ways. But even though it's not the future, sorry, I always forget that. It's actually the past. The future past,
Who knows? Time's weird. It could be. I don't know.
Weird.
I don't know.
But yeah, really fun. And I'm like interested to see. I kind of want to watch the second one. We probably won't do it for the podcast because we've never seen it. But I would like to watch the second one and just kind of what else is in that Star Wars section of Disney Plus. Like I haven't really explored that at all. And it's its whole section. Yeah, it's so crazy. So I'm excited. It was tough that there's no more of the like Star Wars movies, but the offshoots have been really good. Mandalorian was great. So can't wait for more.
Yeah. All right. Well, did you watch this when you were a child? Come find us on Twitter at The Sweetie Club or on Instagram at Large Marge Sent Us. Thank you, as always, for listening. Bye.
Bye. Mace might be a rape artist, but he's annoying as hell.